Hi, everyone. It's August 31st, 2023, and this is the Backdrop Weekly Developers Meeting. Today is the last day before Feature Freeze for 126, which is tomorrow, July 1st. We're going to talk a little bit about Feature Freeze, the things that we're going to try to get accomplished before then, and and just kind of run through the normal timeline and schedule for this week. So we're going to do some introductions. My name is Nate Lambton. I'm Quick Sketch on the Internet. I'm co-founder and technical lead for the Backdrop project. We'll start with Greg, and then we'll go to Luke for introductions.
Hi, my name is Greg, usually in Australia, now joining from Greece. I have been out of touch for like maybe 4 or 5 weeks now, so I'm just looking forward to go back into the queue and see if we can get things in for the upcoming release. That's it, thanks.
Great, thanks, Greg. Luke?
I am Luke McCormick. I'm a web business analyst and sometimes product owner from San Ramon, California. I haven't been to a meeting in quite a while, and I'm helping to coordinate in various ways Backdrop Live, which is coming up on September 22nd in about 3 weeks. So all sorts of excited about that.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. We'll go to Robert and then Jen.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet in Altadena, California, and lately been working on little bits of tools and infrastructure.
Great, thanks, Robert. Go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, there was a siren. Jen Lambton joining from Solana Beach, California this week. I think I'm relatively close to Robert.
All right, Southern California crew representing. All right, great. Jen, do you want to do a quick contrib update?
Sure. So we have a few new projects this week. Calendar, which is really complicated and popular Drupal module, got ported, so that's fantastic. Gin, which is a very popular admin theme for Drupal, also got ported. I think we talked about that last week because we had a contributor application that was open for Gin, so that's getting released in a week. Pretty cool.
For Gin, sorry, Jen, to interrupt. We have the maintainer of the Drupal project actually contributing and being a co-maintainer. It's worth noting.
Yeah, very cool. And then I'm not sure if we talked about it last week, but we have another module called Agreement, which sort of provides a checkbox on the registration. I'm going to mute. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, great. Let's see. Luke already mentioned it, but Backdrop Live is around the corner, September 22nd and 23rd. I've seen already a dozen registrations come in, at least for that. And by registrations, I actually mean donations, because that's what I see when they come in. So that's awesome to see that building up some momentum for just being around the corner. And there's more information about Backdrop Live. It was discussed in the previous meeting prior to this one, which I think was also recorded, so you can go back and check that out. Let's see. There was an email that came in, and Jen, sorry, I just put this on the agenda without giving you notice about it, from the folks over at MITRE.org, the people that publish CVEs, security reports. And they kindly reached out and said, hey, we started to do CNA certification. And I can't actually remember the acronym for what CNA stands for, but it allows you to file your own CVEs without needing to go through MITRE. You basically become a trusted partner for them to file your CVEs directly without needing to go through their general CVE process. Certificate Naming Authority, thanks. And anyway, so they reached out and said, hey, it'd be great if we could get you guys onboarded. It's been a year since we started trying to onboard, but we never quite got through the process. So they reached out and said, hey, we'd like to try that again, which we also would love to try that again. In the first round, the only two people that were going through it were Jenna and myself. I think
Greg.
and Greg. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg.
Yeah, but in the previous meeting, I
He's
mentioned that.
also on the email thread.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I mentioned in the previous meeting that I would like to step down, though.
Step down
We
from
have-
that responsibility.
From that responsibility specifically, yes. So we have more people in the security team. If they could step in and fill in for me, that I would love that. Maybe I'll consider maybe in a year from now or next year. We'll see.
Yeah, well, that comes into exactly what I was going to say as well, which is it would be nice if we could get some other volunteers for that particular position. You do need to be a member of the security team, but we also would happily add more people to the security team. It's not a very onerous process to get onboarded onto that either. Being on the security team doesn't have a lot of inherent responsibilities, but if you were to go through the CNA training to make it so that you could file the CVEs, that would make that person very important to our security release workflow. Of course, we want to have multiple people filling that role so that we're not stuck on just one person. But yeah, that would really help with our security releases quite a lot. If we could file our own CVEs instead of going through MITRE, it would be nice.
There's actually a lot that the current security team is doing. It's just not everyone on the security team is doing.
Yeah. Sorry. What I kind of mean to say there is like joining the security team or pretty much any role in the Backdrop community is mostly as your time allows. You can participate or step back from that particular role. But some roles aren't like that. And this might be kind of one of those. It's like if you go through the CNA training, you would kind of become important. Like it would become almost a non-optional thing that you would need to allocate some time to. But
you get to wear a cool orange vest though, and you get one of those siren things for your car.
We could arrange that. if that would make it so that someone would volunteer, we definitely can arrange sirens and hats. Okay. Anyway, I was just putting a call out for that particular role. Since that opportunity looks like it's going to be coming around again to go through the training, it would be great if anybody's interested. Okay. If you are interested, email security@backdropcms.org. Great. Okay. Let's see. Issues. Let's talk about feature freeze first before we get into individual issues. So feature freeze is technically tomorrow. It's September 1st. And generally speaking, feature freeze happens on the 1st of the month prior to the minor release, which happens on the 15th of the month, guaranteed. So what I'm thinking about proposing is that the 126 release is probably one of our smallest releases to date as far as like new features are concerned. It does have one really big update that affects potential compatibility, and that's that we finally updated our jQuery version to the very latest version. And we also went through all of our JavaScript and updated it all to be jQuery 3.0, 3.x compatible. And so that's a big change in itself. And I think that's really great housekeeping that we got cleaned up. But as far as like, features for writing in a blog post or marketing, it's not really that big of an achievement. It's kind of, it's necessary work, but it's not exactly exciting. That's what I'm saying. So the 126 release doesn't have a whole lot going on in it right now, which really makes, other than the jQuery stuff, the chance for regressions really low because there's pretty much nothing in it. And so I'd like to say that I think that we should extend our feature freeze deadline at least through the weekend, through Sunday night, to give us a chance to get in like 2 or 3 more little features potentially. And so those things could be any of the things that we're about to discuss. I don't know if anybody has any opinion on that, like if there's any opposition or voicing in support, I guess, of those present. So I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'm in support of that, and we should sort of like arrange for sprints as well throughout the weekend to get things done.
Sounds good.
Any opposed?
I'm anxious to hear what the possible new goodies might be.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, let's go through the ones that have been raised already. The first one I'd like to bring up is Olaf's issue that he is advocating for, Olaf Grabinski. It's issue 5678, which is kind of fun. And that's just allowing link fields to be restricted to internal only or external only or both. Right now, all link fields in Backdrop are general purpose. They can be linked to internal or external URLs. And the reason why we want to add this toggle to link fields is so that you can disable the autocomplete, because some people aren't a fan of the autocomplete when you can only, like in practice, enter external URLs. Like if somebody's profile and you say, what's your website URL, that's always going to be external. And it's a little awkward to have it be auto-completing internal paths when all of the expected URLs are likely to be external. So that issue, it currently needs code review. I think just before this meeting, we refreshed the sandbox. Had been out of date for a little while. Olaf looks like he checked out the new sandbox. The pull request still works. There might be some random failing tests. It would be great if somebody could write automated tests, he says, and we need a code review. So that's issue 5678. Let's see. We can talk a little bit about the ones that Greg mentioned. There's this pretty simple one at 5090. This is some general cleanup around areas in the user interface where we have more and less toggles, like the modules page, when there's additional information there that you can click more and it expands an extra row of information like dependencies. And then you can click less and it toggles it back upwards. And this issue is updating that markup and JavaScript to use details elements, which is kind of the semantically correct markup for that kind of situation.
Yeah, remove some redundant JS as well, or duplicate as well, I would say. Duplicated JS that we're using in different modules. The most prominent pages where this is used is, as you said, the modules page and then the status page.
I would also add it, and the reason I've been nagging Greg for about
The layouts.
is it makes it very easy in lots of places to add additional help text that's not obtrusive, where by using a more or less toggle, and there didn't used to be a good way of doing that, and this provides that.
Great. And what's the, let's see, this issue 5090.
So yeah, last time I checked it was ready for review, but now there's some conflict, so I will need to rebase. I'll try to do that in the next 2 or 3 hours if possible.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see, of issues that are that have advocates and things that are moving pretty quickly. There's a kind of another cleanup issue 6199. It is the pull request that Martin is working on, Yorkshire pudding. Yorkshire pudding is Martin's handle, in case that's not obvious. I didn't just randomly say that. Yorkshire pudding is working on this one. He has a change record that he's created. There's a pull request, and it's really simple, just removing this interest cohort header that Google at one point was kind of forcing everybody to put into their software, and now they abandoned it, so everybody's taking it back out. Let's see. And lastly, there's potentially the report page that will add to the status report that just gives general status information about your Backdrop website, so that if you're filing a support request, you can get quickly provide information about what server you're running, MySQL version, Backdrop version, modules installed, things like that. I don't have that issue number. Greg, do you by chance have it?
Yep. 5791. I just don't have access. I'm using my work computer and I don't have right access to that document, or else I would have put it myself.
Okay. Yeah. 5791. I think that we're kind of going all over the place as far as the level of, ambition that we get here. I kind of like the most recent one where it's like just provide a big text area. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Your last update, June 4th, looks like that's a really good, like, not a wildly difficult one. The only thing that I think maybe this already got
Yeah, I have a comment
elaborated
from
on.
yeah, you made a comment the last meeting where this was discussed, to add a link that would automatically fill that in the issue queue, the core issue queue. But that can be a follow-up because we might need some infrastructure sort of like changes. We need to work on the templates for the issue queue. Plus, it's not necessarily that people might be wanting to file they might be having issue with a contrib module, and then if we lead them to the contrib queue, then we're going to have noise for those for those people that don't know that we have separate issue queues for contrib. So it will be hard to have a single link that can determine whether the person needs to go to the core queue or any of the contrib queues. What we can do is we can have a link to the forum though.
Yeah, but all of that we can do in a follow-up, I think.
Follow-up, yeah.
Yep.
The other thing that we discussed the previous time was, and I think I either removed or was requested that I remove the copy to clipboard and download as text file links that are there. They basically don't have any JavaScript behind them. It was just the prototype, and I can remove them and have them in a follow-up. I think that you, Robert, like the idea of copy to clipboard because, but we can decide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove it just to remove that from being a blocker. I will simplify it. And once we get the main feature in, we can decide on improvements. And we have another couple of weeks to do that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, once we get in the main feature, then the improvements are UX improvements, which can go in anytime. So totally agree.
Yep.
Like let's really distill this down to its core functionality and then follow up. Great. Yeah, those are the issues that we've got. Let's see what else is in the 126 milestone, if anything. 126. There's a ready to be committed new utility function. User has permission. User role has permission. That's RTBC already. I don't think there's much that needs to be said there other than it's just a utility function, so it's not really a big feature. And then there's this user account compare visibility rule. Jen, you remember this one? It's issue 4029, in which this is the one where it's like I might have derailed it again, like I tend to do, because we got stuck on like user interfaces for like whether or not both users are shown, the one that you're comparing, user A versus user B. Last this was checked on, I think that it wasn't, I updated my pull request and it wasn't working. And so I have been on the hook this whole time to update the pull request.
Also, I'm not sure we want to go that route. Like the whole point of the first pull request was to remove the second user because people wouldn't know why there are two users. And so we rewrote the whole thing to remove that. And then you're like, I put it back. And we're like, but that was the point, was to remove it.
Yeah. The issue. Yeah. I'm aware that I undid it, but there was for a reason that the user interface, like the strings, were set up in an unusual way that, like, it was like half of a sentence was the label, and then the other half of the sentence was the value of the radio button, and that's an unusual paradigm that we don't have in Core hardly anywhere, I don't think, and it's difficult to translate. And so I was trying to avoid that problem.
I think we can do that just by putting better labels on the form element, though. I don't think we need to redo the whole UI. But it would be good to have Greg look at it, because he was the one that asked for the original changes, to have him look at your version, because he might decide that it's fine, and then we don't need to worry about which version is what our current choice. And so I think even if it's not working, if there's some screenshots there of the user interface with both options, and that might be enough to make a decision. If anyone else cares about this and wants to look at it, that would be great too. The point is to be able to put something on like user profile that you only see on your own profile, not on other people's, or vice versa.
Yeah, sorry, we jumped in without a lot of explanation. It's visibility rule for layouts in particular, and all layout visibility rules apply both to the overall layout and to individual blocks. And the primary use case is what Jen just said, like showing a block on somebody's user profile page. Okay, could be useful for like per user dashboards and stuff like that too. Like if you want to show something only to the user when they're viewing their own profile, that sort of thing. Okay, so
I have another one to suggest, and I remembered it now very last minute. It's something that Doc Wilmot worked really recently on, 6122, and it basically allows teams to have config folders and installation hooks.
Oh my!
I took a look at, it's a very simple pull request actually. I'm not sure if he has the capacity to work on it, but it looks pretty straightforward.
He hasn't actually filed a pull request here yet, though, right? It's like
no, he has.
Oh, it is. Okay,
it's just the labels. Yeah, I haven't added. No one has actually. I'll go and add some labels now, like the status has pull requesting.
I'll take a look at this. This is interesting. Oh yeah, it is really short. Needs test coverage. That's always the sad thing about a pull request that's only like 10 lines long. It's like, oh yeah, this is awesome, but it doesn't have any tests, clearly.
Yeah.
I wish that wasn't the case, that like every 10 lines of code needs like 30 lines of testing, it seems like. But here we are.
Yeah, this would simplify certain things, and not only simplify, but also make it consistent, so that themes can ship settings, like config settings, along with.
Oh yeah, okay. This is I kind of in the back of my mind was like, this seems like it could be problematic. Are you saying that it could actually include like content types, like in the theme?
Not content types, but the settings for the theme.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess that's true for modules as well. Some modules include things like views, and then when you turn on the module, it turns on the view. And then it stays there unless they specifically put something in the uninstall hook. So I guess this would enable themes to do the same thing for better or worse, but I don't know where I sit with that. I wouldn't really recommend it as like a themes should include config that's not related to the theme, but yeah, it's the same sort of thing where it's like it gives themes config the same way the modules have them, and for better or worse, that's not limited to just your modules configuration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it allows some cleanup as well when you uninstall and remove the theme. That the respective configuration can be deleted in an installation hooks. So
Yeah, okay. That's the theme provided one though, right? Because that's the same
yes, yeah,
thing for modules, that when you uninstall the module, it checks hook config info. Yeah. I'm guessing that the theme wouldn't actually need to specify hook config info. It's just a hard-coded like theme name settings.json is what I would guess. Yeah, okay, well, that's neat. 6122 is that issue.
Yep.
Thanks, Greg. I wouldn't have run across that one otherwise. Great. One other topic. Okay, that's all I've got for 126 issues. Is there anything else that people have on their radar? Yeah, I think we can get at least 2 of them knocked out before the weekend.
Yeah.
If we really, it's a lot of things don't take a whole lot of time. It just takes focus, and us volunteers, not the best at focusing. All right. Let's see, other topics. I want to talk a little bit about CKEditor. Again, I know that that's a big topic for a lot of people. We'll probably figure this out post feature freeze, but I think that we should put something in the status report informing people about what's happening with CKEditor, or maybe a blog post and then publishing it out to the dashboard block might also be sufficient. But we need some kind of public notification to tell people what the heck is going on with CKEditor, because we haven't really done that outside of these meetings and maybe in Zulip. Just generally, the state of things is that we're working on CKEditor 5 in Contrib. The recent developments on that is that it's now in the Contrib repository, so it's there. It hasn't had a release yet, but we're working towards that point. This past week, I added Indigo Zella as an official maintainer of the module, so she can start merging in changes, because she's been filing several bug fixes to the module, and I think that she should just be able to be empowered to fix them directly. So I also saw that Joseph has been in the CKEditor 5 queue quite a bit, and so there's a lot of work happening over in the Contrib space on the CKEditor 5 module. But the news post that we need to push out some way is what's going to happen during this weird transition phase where CKEditor 4 will be end-of-lifed in November, which is going to happen in between 126, which comes out later this month, in September, and 127, which comes out in January. So there's going to be a window in there where Core is only going to ship with an unsupported version of CKEditor. And kind of the point we'd like to get to is that we will have the option for people to download and install the Contrib CKEditor 5 onto their sites if they want to use the newest and supported version of CKEditor. During that window, they'll have to go to Contrib for a little period of time, and then ideally in 127 will ship and include CKEditor 5 by default in 127.
is the plan to keep both versions and have the new installations install CKEditor 5 by default, but older sites still keep 4?
Correct.
So like the same thing that we're doing with jQuery, right?
Yep.
All right, cool.
And probably put something on the status report page saying you should try to switch to 5 when you have the opportunity.
Is there upgrade path in 5 that'll like keep all your text formats the same as they were before? And
we don't have that yet.
is there a plan for that?
There is an issue for that, but I'm not sure that I would call it a plan. at this point.
I just worked on that for Drupal 10, so I'll go have a look.
There's a
at that.
plan to work on it at some point.
Yeah, there's a plan to come up with a plan.
Love it.
I think last I looked at this, the state of it is that we need to review what Drupal did and see if that is a good idea or if we want to take our own path when we do our upgrade. I think that Drupal may have done something. I can't quite remember exactly what happened. It won't be like update.php. We know that for sure because switching from 4 to 5 requires user intervention. Like they need to edit their text format, change it from 4 to 5. What are you shaking your head for?
That could be, or you're talking about what happened in Drupal?
No. I'm talking about what will happen in Backdrop. Is that it
Yeah,
won't
we're
be
gonna,
automatic.
that'll be in an update hook.
For us?
Yeah, it should be.
Um,
You shouldn't need to do anything in order to end up with the same functionality you had before, and so.
no, I'm saying that the switch from 4 to 5
Yeah.
won't be automatic in Backdrop. You'll continue using 4 until you switch to 5. Same like as we're doing with jQuery. You
But
stay
by
on
enabling
1.
the module, right?
What's that?
Enabling the module is how you switch to 5, right?
No, because you can still have both 4 and 5 on at the same time on 2 different text formats.
But they're the same namespace, right? Like we're trying to make it.
No,
No,
They're
they-
not.
one of them is CK Editor and the other one is CK Editor 5.
Yep. So CK Editor 4 is in the CK Editor namespace, and we'll relabel its info file to CK Editor 4, but the namespace is CK Editor, and the new module is CK Editor 5.
And there's not going to be any upgrade path. You're just going to say, screw it, figure out how to build your own formats, and hopefully you don't break all your content. It
No,
should be that when you enable the module, all of the formats that we're using 4 are now using 5 and behave identically to the way they did in 4. Like there shouldn't be this, it shouldn't be an editor decision as to how to form, like what form editor you're using. It shouldn't even require any admin intervention to change the way anything works. I mean, I can't think of a use case to why you would want 2 different versions of the same editor on your website.
So that you can test things. Just so
Right,
that you
right.
can test things.
So don't run the upgrade path until we get it in core, if you want to test both of them. But as soon as it's in
Right.
core, it should be stable and we shouldn't need, that use case shouldn't exist anymore.
what if
There's a non-trivial number of things that CK Editor 4 did that CK Editor 5 doesn't
Yeah,
do.
I made the list. I know.
Yeah, I mean there are. I could see lots of situations where this might need to be necessary. Like let's say you're using certain CK Editor 4 only plugins that don't exist in CK Editor 5, and maybe you have some types of content that need that ability, but other types of content that don't. And so you may end up with like comment forms being CK Editor 5 while your views configuration still use CK Editor 4 or something like that.
4 contrib modules that have CK Editor 4 plugins. So the likelihood that, like, I don't know, I feel like that this use case scenario is very low compared to the 100% of people who have CK Editor 4 on their sites who now need to figure out something they don't care about in order to get the same thing they had before they updated core. I don't know, let me go look at it and see how technically hard it is, because if it's super technically difficult, then maybe we can't do it. But I feel like the user experience here should be more important than this like theoretical scenario where we don't really know. But if we haven't gotten that list of things fixed, that might be another thing where it's like you are absolutely definitely going to break your content because of X, then we shouldn't be forcing that on people. But hopefully we don't have that problem where.
Yeah, the level of involvement that I was envisioning is that you turn on CK Editor 5, 4 is still on as well. None of your text formats are automatically updated, but you can go and edit your text format, change it from 4 to 5, and the toolbar and the configuration of everything converts over to 5. So you don't need to
Why would you require that from someone when you can do that in an update hook?
I think that, well, for one, it's irreversible. there's no going
Only
back
if
to
you
update
edit your
hooks.
content and stuff is deleted, but we've made it so that won't happen, right? We included the HTML, other HTML allowed thing.
Well, we haven't quite made that happen yet, but we're working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we can
Yeah,
make sure no content is deleted, then I don't think that, like, the risk of having Seek Editor 5 is much lower.
Yeah, if we can fully eliminate that, but I don't really think we can actually. So it's I think there's going to be some level of, we can inform people that they're going to lose content if they save it, but I don't think that we can actually get to 100% no content is ever going to be lost with Seek Editor 5. But we can
Yeah,
provide
because-
messages to tell people when it's going to happen before they save the node, allowing them to change the text format or go into source mode to fix it. But
I can see situations where, like, for whatever reasons, one of them would be that the Seek Editor 4 only modules, like Nate mentioned, where someone would want to configure a completely new format so that their content editors can from now on create new content with Seek Editor 5 without touching the previous before they're absolutely sure that it doesn't break. And then they can manually, because when you edit an existing node, it remembers what you used. And because we can reorder the priority, of course, like there's roles-based configuration. So you can specify which roles have access to which format, right? But if a specific role has access to both formats, then we have the ability to prioritize it, and then one of them becomes the default for the specific field. And that
content.
For new content, that's what I was saying. So
you'd have to write your own update hook to go through and change every single one of your pieces of content to use the new format. And that's like a lot of work to ask of someone, where I'm saying if we just use the same format name as they had before, then they don't have to write that huge update hook or edit and save every node on their site in order to get the right editor on it. Like you have to change every single piece of content ever edited with the old format on the site. So that's not just content, that's also like views, headers, footers, like input formats are used everywhere. You can't just be like, go re-edit everything and switch to 5, because you have to do that now to even just to turn off Seek Editor 4, right? Because that
if you wanted to literally update all the content on your site, then you wouldn't use a separate text format. You would just change the one that's already there.
Okay.
But Greg is saying you don't want to worry about your legacy stuff. You just leave it running the old text format, and all your new content going forward, you could use the new one.
Exactly. And then
you're still failing all of the
to
checks that tell you if you're running a secure version of Seek Editor. So I even
look, what we can do is, like in Backdrop 2, we can worry about an upgrade path that messes up with your content, and then people will know that they need to go and check that. But now what I would like us to do is, like with new sites, we need to get people started with Seek Editor 5 by default, and we can do that nicely. For existing sites, we can let people make the decision of whether they want to take the risk and switch their old profile to the new editor, or just create a new profile and make that a default for new content, and then worry about the legacy content at some later point. Or when Backdrop 2.0 comes along, it won't have Seek Editor 4 unless that goes in contrib, and then they take the risk to use an unsupported version. So either
the upgrade for Seek Editor 5 will come with Backdrop 2 and not with Seek Editor 5.
Yes, that's what I think.
And hopefully Seek Editor 5 will be stable by then and will not delete content. Is that our hope?
Yeah.
I guess we can kick it down the road a little.
Is there much of a risk from people running older versions? I mean, it's an editing tool that is only accessible to authorized roles generally. It's in a relatively controlled environment. So, I mean, are there exploits that can get past that?
I mean, for sure, there are a bunch of sites that let the comment field have an editor on it, and that comment field is often allowed for everyone. So you wouldn't need anyone authenticated. And so if there's an editor in your comment form and there's an exploit in it, it's now world accessible. So I would say a good rule of thumb is don't put an editor on your comment form, but lots of people do. So I think there's a big risk there.
Yeah,
and
there's
if we make sure, yeah, exactly. If we make sure that there's at least one rich text format with CK Editor 5, and that is the default, then people will have to go in some trouble to use an unsupported version. Like they will have to do it intentionally, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think new sites, it's definitely going to be in a much better spot, but the existing site problem is still complicated. Yeah, it's very similar to the jQuery situation. It's just what I keep thinking, that jQuery 1 has been unsupported for years, yet we still ship and include it, and it has been the default. And we're going to encourage people to move to 3.x, but there's no guarantee that their current sites are 3.x compatible.
But it's very different where like they don't have to configure jQuery. They don't have to decide where to use it and where not to use it. Like it's just there. Like it's invisible to the average administrator. It's just like part of the system. Where here, it's like you have to make an active decision which one to use. You don't know which one's safe and which one's not safe. You don't know. You may lose content, you may don't. We're just taking the burden of this impossible question that doesn't have a good answer already and pushing it to the people who know less about it than us, which just seems like a lot. And I know that the problem is CK Editor. Like I know their like backwards compatibility thing is the problem, and that moving to 5, like there is no, I don't know. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible on the people who don't understand the problem in the first place, and asking them to make these decisions and stuff.
Yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
We may need documentation, and then notices, like if there's an edit page that loads up that uses CK Editor 4, that there can be a notice that's shown only to administrators, people that can do something about it, and it points to a link that says, hey, one of your text formats is using an unsupported version. You're encouraged to switch, but before you switch, here's the thing. What worries me is the amount of tickets that we get at work about incompatibility still with CK Editor 5. So some people might want to still hold off.
Yeah.
And if we sort of like forcefully change everything to 5, then I don't know.
But anyone who doesn't want to use CK Editor 5 just won't turn on the module. Like they've already made the decision when they turn on the module that they want to try it.
Yeah, what we win is that for new sites, 5 is going to be on by default. Again, if someone has a very specific reason to use CK Editor 4, again, they have to go out of their way to go and specifically disable CK Editor 5.
I agree with all that.
Yeah. And
what I
for
don't
existing
agree
sites,
with is after somebody's already decided to change to 5, not actually changing them to 5. But we can figure it. I understand they're like, the primary use case here is that anybody who's on a backdrop today will remain on CK Editor 4 until it's removed from core. And those people don't have to worry about anything. And they, they'll be violating whatever security issues, and then only then will they realize that they need to.
Well, there will be a status page notice, right? So they will need to do something. By they, I mean the person who is a system administrator and has access to the configuration pages will be notified about this. They just need to make a conscious decision and test old content that is not broken, instead of, upgrading to a version of Backdrop that forcefully changes everything. Because then that puts the burden on us that we need to absolutely 100% make sure that we don't break anything.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Well, we're more capable of doing that than they are of testing their content.
Fair enough, yeah,
but there's no way that we can do that with their custom and contrib modules. So
yes,
like there's just no.
We only have 3 contrib modules to worry about, and the likelihood of there being a custom module with a custom CK Editor plugin that we don't know about is very slim. With only however many thousand sites are running Backdrop. I don't know. It seems like a much more surmountable problem than Drupal had. And Drupal's, I mean, they don't care about backwards compatibility, but I don't know. I'll look at it because I haven't looked at it in a while, and I know, Nate, you've been neck deep in it and you know a lot more about it than I do at this point. But yeah.
Well, even where it is right now, I think we can all be certain that what we have now is not at all a suitable replacement. Like it is just not there yet, which is why, we're not even considering putting it in core at this point. So it's got a long ways to go. Okay, well, I'm afraid that we're now out of time. But the general upshot of this discussion is that feature freeze is extended until Sunday night. So that's
Monday night? Wait, Monday's a holiday.
Monday's a holiday.
That's why I thought we were extending it through the weekend, because the weekend is not.
Okay. Thank you for the reminder. Feature freeze is extended through Monday night, September 4th.
Features instead of 3.
Got an extra day out of that. I thought that sometimes happened. I think that's funny. It's just the way the days fell this year because it's always on a Monday. Sometimes it goes through Labor Day weekend, and this year it didn't. But I guess we're going to make it go through Labor Day weekend. So here we go. Okay, well, thanks for the reminder. Through September 4th, Monday night, we now have a little bit more time to get in some of these issues that we discussed. So let's call it a meeting for today. I've got another place to be, so thank you all for being here, and we'll
everyone.
check in next week.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.